Hey everyone, welcome to Chimi Chats. This is the April 22nd edition, and we're joined by Tish Dean Gainey, the owner of HB Productions, and she's the co-founder of Louisville's Tailspin Ale Fest. And then we've got Matt Leff with Rhizome Productions, based in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm looking at my notes like I don't know this stuff, and he does a lot of events as well. So I thought this was a great group of people to get together. I've known each of these individuals a long time. I've been lucky enough to attend a lot of events around the country and some internationally, and events that these guys have produced have been some of the very best. And so I'm very, very proud to be experienced with these two people and what they've been able to do. So we'll start with Tish, and tell us a little bit about you, your background, and what led you to doing what you're doing now.
Sure. So I have had my own company for 7 years. My background is I was in craft beer starting in 2007. I worked for World Class Beverages in Indiana and Southern Indiana, and then I worked for Beer House Distributors of Kentucky, and then was a beverage director for a local group. And then that Louisville didn't have a winter warmer, and met my business partner Trevor. He was working with Draft Magazine, so we saw Bowman Field and saw an incredible space. So we started a beer festival in a World War II era airplane hangar. We just had our 7th year, March 7th actually, and we've been rated top 10 Beer Fest USA Today. So it's very exciting when you see that buyer's report and you have people from Alaska and New York and Florida and all up and down the East Coast attend your festivals. But we've built our business. We also do the J-Town Summer Craft Beer Fest. We do Keg Liquors Festival. We partnered with Todd to help grow that event. We do a Germantown Oktoberfest here in Louisville as well. A couple years ago, the city of Owensboro called us, and so we started Cheers on the Pier down there for a beer fest. We also do Bowman Aviation and Military Heritage Festival. That's one of our biggest ones to date. It's a 2-day festival celebrating Bowman Field, which we fell in love with. Then we also do some smaller things. We do festival event and catering, so we do bar services, and as well as some consulting for people. So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, you're rocking it out. We appreciate everything you're doing. Matt, how about you and your history?
Sure. So I started Rhizome Productions in January of 2011 with the East Nashville Beer Festival that took place in April of 2011. We actually, this past Saturday would have been our 10th anniversary. Unfortunately postponed right now, which totally sucks, but we'll come back. We'll get it. And we produce, we produce probably about 24 festivals a year across the Southeast. We have a couple other events we do that travel around the country depending on where things fall. We primarily focus on craft beer specific events, but we also do some consulting work as well, and co-produce some civic events for a variety of cities and towns across the Southeast. We also co-produce the Shelton Brothers Festival for the past 4 years. Hopefully we'll get to do that in October, fingers crossed. And we've sort of built our business based on a quality over quantity sort of outlook on things. So we custom curate the breweries that participate. We work hand in hand with the breweries and distributors to have amazing beer lists. So we do events all year long. We were just about to ramp up in March to the busy season, and our first event got postponed. So it's an interesting, very interesting time. But we are based in Nashville, as Eddie said, and we probably produce events in about 10 different cities as of last year.
I really like your background there with the Home Depot box, the gift bag.
I'm in my beer bunker, as Spike with Terrapin called it the first week I was in quarantine.
Well, most importantly, the reason I'm doing this is to have a reason to drink during the day. So I've got a nice Shallow Grave by Heretic Brewing. Are you guys joining me in a drink, or are you making me drink alone?
I can grab one. It's across the room, though.
I'll have a seltzer with you. Hang on.
Hold on a minute. Let me see what's in the fridge. I'm at the office.
What kind of beer people are you guys?
I know. Terrible.
I'm having a Waterloo watermelon seltzer.
Where's that from?
I don't know. Oh, Austin, Texas. Cheers to Austin.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Hopefully they don't run out of CO2 to make it.
Well, see, Tish didn't set up in her beer cellar, so she had a few more steps to get a beer.
I'm at the office, but I don't know. I found this bourbon barrel aged quad from Boulevard. That's not so bad, right?
It's pretty darn yummy. I'd take it on any day. So,
I mean, we work for ourselves. We can start drinking.
Yeah, right. Hey, Matt, with the current state of affairs, what have you had to cancel or postpone so far?
So as I mentioned just previously, so our first two events of the year, sort of kicking off our spring season, was March 12th and 13th, right? No, 13th and 14th. We had a whiskey festival and a beer festival in Chattanooga. And that, I think it was 2 days prior to those events was when the NHL and the NBA, made their announcements. And that was kind of the writing on the wall for us. We were kind of hoping that we would make it to at least those two. But obviously took a pretty quick turn. So as of today, we have postponed 7 festivals. Basically everything we had on the books through June have been postponed and hopefully rescheduled. And then we've had two cancellations. We had an event actually that would have been yesterday evening in San Antonio during the Craft Brewers Conference. Obviously the conference was canceled. So unfortunately we had to cancel our event along with our client who was the host. And then we canceled another event that we were hoping to do in May that was going to be in March. It was a crawfish festival with our distillery partner Pennington Distilling Company in Nashville. But obviously crawfish season is about to end sort of like mid to early May. So we just did a bulk refund all of those ticket purchasers today, actually. So, I've been surprised. Not everybody, but I would say 95% of our ticket buyers for all the events that we've postponed so far have been incredibly supportive when they receive the information. They either don't say anything at all because they don't read their email, or they respond and say, we hope you get rescheduled and we want to support you. And then like 5% of people are like, hey, I was coming from out of town. Can I have a refund? And we've obviously refunded all those people. And if we're unable to reschedule, our intention would be to, post or refund everybody that wants it, unless they want to roll over to the next year. But, so 2 cancellations, 7 postponements thus far.
Yikes. Tisha, how about y'all?
It's rough out there. We have moved Keg Liquors Festival, would have been May 30th to August 1st, but I'm not sure that that's even going to happen. We've got another one that would have been actually 2 events that would have been in June. We're just in a holding pattern on how to reschedule or when to reschedule. The unfortunate part, like here in Louisville, you've got Forecastle Festival that was mid-July. It's been shut down. Internationally, the Oktoberfest has been shut down, canceled. We work pretty closely with the city of Louisville, and what we're understanding is they aren't issuing any event permits. So it's looking pretty bleak for the rest of 2020. There may not be any city festivals this year. So
yeah, that's a little scary. I mean, let's pivot a little bit. What do you see as the future for events and beer events specifically, but any event? Do you see things coming back at all? Do you see smaller events working? And is it possible to have an event and socially distance from each other? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, for us, we are definitely one advantage we have a catering license. We have a catering liquor license. So we are going to be partnering with small local artisans to do some beer and food pairings to sell those. just something to keep ourselves alive, keep relevant. We're also helping the Kentucky Guild of Brewers do their virtual beer fest, which is coming up Saturday, May 2nd, which would have been Derby. Derby's already been postponed to Labor Day weekend, and I'm hearing rumors that Derby is going to be televised. It's not going to be attended. So, we're trying to keep relevant, trying to keep in there with everybody, our friends and partners, our local breweries. But also, we're looking at when you can move to at least 10 people, do some curated tastings. If somebody wanted to have a private party at their house, small group of people, we could come in and go through the beer styles, beer flavors, have the food. But as far as smaller events, maybe when the day we can have those, they're definitely going to have to be top-notch, curated, and a high ticket price to even make it feasible. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's a little scary. Matt, you have anything to add to that or anything different?
I mean, I agree with everything Ish definitely said. I think those are all, valid points. I think, you mentioned the Derby. I've heard some really weird chatter about Major League Baseball and how they're considering having the entire season in Phoenix, and all the teams will play at the various AAA baseball parks, and they'll all be fanless, and the players will have to sit in the stands because they can't sit in the dugouts. I think professional sports, live concerts, those will sort of be the signal to everybody of what is going to get to happen. If the NFL does fanless stadiums for this season, I think Tish, you and I are not going to be doing a beer festival this year.
No.
And that's where I'm at. It's terrifying. It sucks. I'm frustrated and disappointed. But at the same time, even if we could get back out there, let's say October comes around and this goes away, there's going to be a lot of people who potentially financially are concerned. There's going to be a lot of people who maybe aren't that confident about the guidance we're getting and aren't going to want to go and be out in a field with 1,000 people getting beers poured into their tasting cups. So I think, financial confidence and consumer confidence in safety is going to have a big impact regardless of when we can get back out there. I do think that when we can get back out there, smaller events are going to be the answer. Whether that's 250 people or 500 people, I do think that is going to be where we maybe find that middle ground. I had a funny conversation with a marketing team that we work with early on, like the week that all the shit hit the fan, and they're like, why don't you just buy a bunch of 8-foot hula hoops and everybody has to stand inside their hula hoop and put them all over the festival? And I'm like, that'd be interesting. Probably wouldn't work. I think there's going to be a lot of challenges. Even let's say in a year we have a vaccine and things return to normal, whatever that may be. I think this is going to have a long-term impact on large events, and not just beer festivals. I mean, any large event where people are sharing facilities to go to the bathroom, when they're going to a concession to get a beer, get food. There's going to be a lot of new considerations that people are going to have to take into place. And one of the things that I was seeing the week of all this happening, had a massive beer festival in Chicago. I can't remember which one it was. And you had Hunabu Day down in Tampa. Mm-hmm. And they all were holding out for the very last minute. And one of the things that I think the guys in Chicago did, they went out and bought like 100,000 little tiny plastic cups. And you were literally going to get every sample in a new cup. It's a great idea. It's a giant waste. And I hate that concept. But that may be the future for us. Or beer festivals are, you're just handing everybody a can or a bottle of beer and say, oh, here's your beer. And, pour it amongst yourself, pour it for your friends. So
what could go wrong?
What could go wrong? Right. Yeah. I think there's going to be
everything.
There's going to be a lot of adjustments we're going to have to make specifically as beer festival producers. If we don't go back to whatever we think normal was or is, and there will be a new normal. Hopefully it won't be too far from what we're used to, but it may take us a year to get there from today. And that's the scary part. I mean, I think Tish, you seem to be in a good spot with that catering permit. Hopefully that gives you some bandwidth to do smaller things or support your local breweries and getting out there. We've gone down the road of looking into like virtual beer festivals and virtual events. It's not easy. And a lot of why people come to beer festivals is camaraderie and social aspect. And I think we're all getting used to what we're doing right now being the new way to social, but it's not the same as raising a glass together in person and sharing in that. And that's what makes the industry so fun. And I think that's going to be our biggest challenge is how do we get back to what we all like, and can we, or will we? So it's it won't be the same as it was in 2019, in 2021. But I think 2020, unfortunately, is probably not going to, I don't think we'll see an event.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
And I know both of you guys rely on some staff members and lots of volunteers and partnerships with, of course, breweries and distilleries and wineries and cider producers and mead producers, but also restaurants and food truck operators. What kind of impact do you see on that industry as a whole?
You want to take this one first, Matt?
Sure. So I won't speak too much on the restaurant side of things. While we're great friends with all of our national restaurants, we only really have like one event where we do a lot of work with them. But I'm really worried about our friends in the restaurant world, and that goes for every major city that has a food scene. I think they've got a huge battle in front of them, and I pray they survive that. We've been in touch with a lot of our food truck partners that we work with. They're finding some unique opportunities right now to survive. They're doing like neighborhood pop-ups where people can call ahead and just drive by the food truck and get their food. And I think food trucks are going to be essential in this situation and probably will survive if they're out there. So I know some trucks have turned off the lights and they're going to wait for it to end, but for those that are running, I think they'll be okay. On the brewery side of things, Eddie, you and I talked about this last night in our distributor roundtable. Tish, I'm sorry, you've seen the numbers. The BA has some pretty grim numbers for the beer industry. 46% of America's breweries might not make it the next 3 months if on-premise doesn't come back to life. And that's a grim statistic. And, every time we do anything we can to help promote our local breweries, and for that matter, any brewery that we appreciate and work with, we try to put that. But consumers have limited options of where they can go and get their beer right now, and they're only drinking at home. Some people are drinking more. Some people maybe are drinking less because they don't have that social aspect.
Some people are drinking seltzer instead of beer.
Cheers. I only drink beer at night because I deal with my children during the day. Maybe I drink beer during the day. That would make it better. But, I think across the food and beverage world, it doesn't matter what level you're at. There's a lot of challenges that are right now at the moment, but are going to be on this path for the next months. And it's all about trying to adapt and be prepared as best as you can. We're doing whatever we can to support people who supported us in any way we can. And whether that's just outreach to our fan base and our email list, and social channels, or just dropping their name when we're walking around the neighborhood and someone's like, hey, what's new? I'm like, well, I'm drinking this great beer from Blackberry Farm. You should go buy some. So it's the small things I think right now are going to make a huge difference for everybody.
For sure. How about you, Tish?
So, Matt hit on the food trucks. I think they're getting creative. I know in Indiana and some parts of Kentucky, they're actually going to truck stops because a lot of places, the restaurants are closed or it's minimal that they have access to. So some are going that route. There's a lot of catering options. It's nice to see some of these bigger companies that are still in operations going out and saying, I need meals for 150 people every day for 3 different shifts. So that word's getting out. Some of the bigger companies are helping some of the smaller guys. I do feel like here within Indiana and Kentucky, it's kind of the wild, wild west. Has opened up for alcohol law. These breweries are able to deliver now directly. There's also services like Drizzly that are available and have been available in Kentucky. But in Indiana, as well as Kentucky, a lot of these bars and restaurants that are staying open can actually do cocktails to go, can do beer to go. Some of them are allowed to sell, if they apply for a retailer license, even with the restaurant, they're selling their bourbon collections. So it's pretty interesting to see the way they're adapting. I think in this time right now, a lot of people are supporting the small local businesses, which I think is a positive. Um, it's really showing your faith in humanity, and a lot of people are pitching in. So, as far as the service industry and workers, thankfully, or unfortunately, it's just Trevor and I. As far as we're impacted financially, we deal with a lot of friends and family volunteers, like you were mentioning. We do have a couple of core people that are paid staff for any project event. Unfortunately, their secondary income is gone until we can get back up and running. So it's just, I was in positive spirits until about this past week, when I kept reading articles about how there's not going to be events till 2021. The reality kind of set in. I was, pretty happy-go-lucky, as I am in general. But it was a little bite of reality this past week. It's like, okay, well, what are we going to do to survive and keep relevant? Another thing is sponsorships. You were talking about working with breweries and distilleries. Now's not the time to be asking for sponsorships when these people are not open. And when it comes time to do that, are they going to have the money? Because we rely on a lot of small local businesses. So it's just going to be an impact all around.
Yeah. That's a great point on the sponsorship side. I mean, same here. We rely on sponsorship from a variety of businesses, not just in the food and beverage world. And, some of our sponsors who have already made payments to us are like, just sit tight. We're ready when you are. And that's obviously very gracious to them. But, that money may get rolled into 2021 for all I know. And us too, we're small in terms of employees under the umbrella, and our overheads are low. But there may not be any revenue for a year. I mean, it's a harsh reality.
Yeah. And we've applied for the small business disaster loan. We've applied for some local funding.
Keyword.
Huh?
The keyword there is disaster.
Right. Disaster loan, which, the communication is just terrible. Everybody's going for it. We haven't applied for the PPE, which, in the national news, it's a mess and they're trying to fix that. But it's nice that the government has opened to independent contractors and self-employed folks like ourselves. But at the same time, getting the communication and actually getting the funding, it's crickets out there, unfortunately.
Yeah, the whole system is so overwhelmed. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty tough. So assuming we come back in 2021, how confident do you feel that you can keep your business going?
We're going for it. I think, some of these festivals have created such a name for themselves and an experience. But again, the consumer temperature, it's going to be interesting. Who's going to be ready to get out there, like Matt was saying, with 1,000 of other people, and how are we going to execute that on a safe operation level? But we're inventive people. We'll figure it out. When it comes to festival time, fly balls happen all the time. You just got to roll with it. So.
Yep. Damn right. I mean, I was having a conversation with Kendall Joseph, who's one of my sort of like he's not as needed. Let me rephrase that. He's one of our team members, but he's he's also got another full-time job that keeps the bills paid. And let's just say 2020, all of our events don't happen, which totally sucks. But we come back in 2021. We almost see this as an amazing opportunity to reinvent ourselves. Mm-hmm. Not that we necessarily need to, but if there's things that we were doing that maybe we were forced to do because of the changes in the market. I mean, this will be a reset for everybody on so many levels that we almost see this as a great opportunity to sort of either correct things that we don't like anymore in some of our events that were more consumer driven decisions, not necessarily decisions we wanted to implement. but we also, we have some events that we're, like I said, we're reaching the 10-year mark, and the audience has changed. People were coming the first 3 to 4 years, maybe now have aged out of the interest in going to a beer festival, or they're not drinking anymore. They have children, they have less time on their hands. And we've seen our audience change. It's inevitable over a 10-year period. But I think the sad benefit from maybe a year of no festivals is that when we do come back, and hopefully people can afford to get back out there, is maybe a whole new audience of people that haven't maybe been in beer festivals before, or discovered beer in quarantine and like, holy shit, why have I not been drinking this? And we may have a whole new audience that are just like chomping at the bit to get out there and socialize and drink great beer and support breweries. So as disappointed as I am to not be doing what I do right now, I'm trying to be hopeful that we can get back out there. It's a whole new, it's like walking into a new town and being like, whoa, who's that? So I think there'll be some benefit that comes from that. And if anything, it'll just allow us to do some internal work to make sure that we're doing everything the way that we want to do it, and improving anything that we feel we can. So, there's a silver lining to everything, for sure.
Yeah, I really appreciate everything you guys do, and the other event promoters out there in the same industry. You really help expose brands to a lot of consumers, and that's helped grow our industry. And it's an important part of our industry. We need those events, and we need quality people doing quality events. And you are two examples of those people. So thank you for all that you do. Don't give up, because we need you. We've got to have you out there. Yeah, we're all in this together. If there's any comfort, everyone's suffering. We're all going through it to different levels, but we're all impacted.
Yeah.
And so hopefully we can all keep coming out of that. Any last thoughts that you guys want to give, or to the drinking community, or to your supporters? Tisha, you want to go first?
All I can say is stay safe, be smart, and try new beers. So there's so many beers out there, between locals and, esoteric beers, Belgian beers from around the world. So, just talk to people about beer and just keep it relevant, but also stay safe. That's my biggest concern.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good,
Matt?
good, valid points. Yeah. So one, support your local breweries and try and support your local independent retailers. I know supermarkets have the convenience factor. You're already going there. But as we all know, those shelves are pretty limited in what they offer. So if you've got a local liquor store or package store or awesome gas station with a ton of craft beer, go support those smaller retailers. But one quick thing I forgot to mention, and I'm sure, Tisha, this plays a role in a lot of your events. Pretty much every Rhizome event that we produce has a nonprofit connection.
Yep.
And East Nashville Beer Fest, being a good example, supports an organization that the money we donate to them every year is the single largest fundraiser for their organization. It's usually around $25,000 a year that they get from that event. And so they're hurting because of this too. And so one of the things that we've communicated to everybody who did buy tickets and is hopefully going to hold out with us, if they want to, donate that, if we cannot get rescheduled directly to the nonprofit, we want to still be able to do what we do to support the community on the nonprofit level. But I think a lot of people don't necessarily pay attention to everything that these festivals may do or what they benefit. But, again, it's just like a trickle down. There's so many layers of impact here, from distributors not selling the beer to the festival, which then impacts the brewery. But we also have our nonprofit tie-in. And so, keep that in mind when you're asking for refunds. It's not just, it's not somebody sitting on a couch hoping to get paid. It supports a lot of layers of organizations that are hurting right now. So, but support your local brewery and local retailers. Thank you.
Great point. Well, thank you both for your time. I look forward to seeing your faces and giving big hugs next time we can see each other. For any viewers, join us tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard or Eastern Daylight Savings Time. And we'll be talking with Wes from Prairie Artisan Ales. We'll be talking with Jared from Roscoe's Coffee and Tap Room in Richmond, Indiana. And we'll be talking with Daniel from Citywide Liquors in South Bend, Indiana, and see how those guys are handling the current environment. Until then, eat better, live better, drink better. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye.